Joe's on the beat.
What up? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Through the Scope. This is B.
Quiz.
We got a special guest for y'all today. A special guest, man. Y'all might have seen the HipHop rabbit rocking some of his gear at the Sixers games. I always had one of his designs on every time y'all see me on the episode. My brother got a couple of his designs. International designer. You know, he started both R Die and Greatness Was When. Mr. Melo Dixon, what's going on, brother?
Yo, what's up, guys?
We need we gotta get some applause. We gotta get a soundboard with like an applause or something in there with the back.
Yeah, right.
Behind the camera, you gotta get the applause or something together, something back there like
so
that.
So do I gotta redo this?
Nah, everything cool, man. I mean, behind us, y'all see some of his pieces though. We definitely want to shout those out. We got the pun one over here, over by his side. Got the Roots over here.
And we got the Nipsey one over here.
Sneakers too.
Yeah, so we surrounded by a lot of his works. I mean, we're gonna show y'all some of that when it's, with his permission. Obviously.
Of course.
Show.
Brother?
I've been good, man. I've been really good.
How's everything going?
Everything's great, man. Just continuing to work and just try to build right now.
Okay.
Well, y'all about to learn more about him, depending on what he say on these tapes. So.
Yeah. We got to see where his head's
still rocking with him, depending on what he say.
Don't judge him.
What he say on there. So I mean, let's get into it though, man. Obviously, we're gonna go into hip hop. Y'all see back here. I mean, hip hop already represented, so we definitely gonna have a hip hop topic to start here. We got a different era of representation in the room here. Everybody come from different eras, whereas the 80s, 90s, 60s, 50s. Some of y'all in there, right? 50s, 40s.
Yeah, you gotta be funny.
Yeah, but we got people, 2000s. No, we got a large representation in the room here. So I want to ask y'all, in this era, just in general, at this time, what is the hardest era to come up in for a hip hop artist?
Come up in, meaning just
compete in.
Okay.
Like, if you were an artist, what era would you feel like, you would be the easiest for you to break through in? And which, you feel like is the
since we got the special guest today, I'm gonna let the guest go first.
Which would you feel like is the hardest to compete in? I'm sorry. If you was an artist, which one you feel like the hardest to compete in?
I guess it depends on how you're coming up. If you're coming up independently, or you're talking about competing. If you're on a label, it was very. I think it was a lot easier. You were competing more with your label.
But what era? You think the 80s,
where you feel like it was harder to get?
Or you think the 2000s?
I would probably say. Say the 90s
was the hardest.
I think so. I think the era when when you had Nas and Big and all those guys coming up, because if you look at it now, if you look at the longevity of it, those guys are, still relevant. Nas is still relevant today.
Right.
And Jay-Z is still relevant today, anytime he wants to be. Right. I mean, to be honest,
that's true. Yeah,
right?
it's true.
To be honest,
I'm laughing because how true that is. Because sometimes he'll pop out when he want to pop out, and he go back in seclusion, like disappear. And everything.
Yeah,
so,
I mean
that's what his life afforded him. Like that's
a business model. That's a good business model for him.
Right.
I would say around that time, only because people was really listening to what you had to say.
Okay.
Right. The 80s for sure, but the 80s was, I think they really embodied like the love of each other as well. Like, hip hop was there was different types of hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And then battle rapping came out, and then that's when the hip hop that I think we know today really started coming, because they wasn't really talking if they was talking about killing somebody, it wasn't a story about somebody maybe that got killed or something like that.
Right.
It wasn't about I'm gonna do this to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then it's really starting until like the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
So now you gotta live with your rap. Like, kind of, for the most part, is that Basically, what you're saying. For
What, 90s?
Yeah.
For the 90s, you had to, or put it this way, for the 90s, I think you had to be, whatever image you put out, you had to live that image. But for me, I think the 80s was tough. I personally think the 80s was tough. Only for the sheer fact, technically, that's actually the start of everything.
That's true.
That's like when hip hop started. And a lot of times, like, you didn't get no recognition unless you had a recognition in your neighborhood, on your block, wherever you was from, and you had to compete with everybody that was local there. You know, they had rap battles just right there on the corner, just everybody ciphering, doing the cipher and everything, right? So you had to go through that. Not to mention, there wasn't that many record labels for any options for you to even get your music out there. So you had to go jump through hoops with the record labels, with the A&Rs, because they had A&Rs back then, with the music producers, all that. Music producers had their own artists that they wanted to push out first before they even give another artist a chance. So I had to go with the 80s and everything like that. So then again with the with bringing in getting it played, you got to go radio. You have internet, SoundCloud, what we got now, streaming platforms where you can now upload your own music. Now you ain't gotta go through that. Like I think the 80s you had to jump through so many hoops just to get your music out. Like it's crazy. Video. Yeah, it was crazy. So I gotta go 80s.
Yeah, 80s. All right. So look, I'm probably gonna throw a loop because everybody probably gonna say what I'm gonna say. Right now is the hardest to compete. The reasons the hardest to compete right now, hip hop has the lowest market share that it probably had in a very long time.
Okay.
Festivals aren't investing in hip hop. Labels aren't even investing in hip hop no more. The artistry is so devalued now that a TikTok star can get a less record deal or on a one song, and the real artist can't even get that same type of support. They'll find Jake Paul dropping a song, putting backing behind that because he got 5 million people on TikTok, and then when he got like 5 million people on TikTok. Give him the record deal. Mind you putting out some of the most pain poetry type songs that you actually go through, and you ain't getting no support on that. Imagine you trying to drop a hip hop song and where nobody is really wanting to hear more hip hop. Because to be honest, we see it a lot of times. People always act like they want something, and then when they come out, they really don't want that. Like they mind basketball. Everybody say the era too soft. There ain't no hard fouls. This is a very soft area to play in. But every time Draymond do something, they want to kick him out the league. Everybody online saying, suspend him, give him a tech, kick him out the league. He bad for the league.
That's because based off the rules, because he only one that would get away with that.
But people don't really want that. Every time you see any guy that do hard fouls, he get a horrible rep in the league from the fans. Y'all don't really want that. Y'all don't really want that. Because every time somebody do it, everybody throw an uproar.
If everybody can get away with it, but either way.
Everybody said they want real hip hop.
Right.
And then some of the most lyrical dudes be selling the lowest of numbers. And you know they got more fans than that. Like, at some point, when you say you want something, they don't really reflect in the actual the actual product.
But if you're talking just actual hip hop, you're right. But nowadays, hip hop has grown, transcended, mutated, morphed, whatever you want to call it.
But y'all don't even call it hip hop no more. Y'all call it. Y'all find your other ways.
No, you're absolutely right.
Y'all calling it mumble rap and
all kinds of stuff. Emo rap. You're right. We call it different things, but as of right now, it's still classified as hip hop. So in a sense, like we were just talking. I think we talked about this on a couple episodes before. In this era, you could hit a lick. Drop one good banger, get a couple mil off that song and disappear and be good.
But none of those other eras had social media and fans that are so toxic that are bent on destroying you. So you do a show, and there's 10 people in the crowd. But they'll create a narrative on you that you really ain't that dude.
At the same time, that same social media is what got you famous. That same social media is what got you on your SoundCloud.
But what does that mean? That you can destroy me if I have one slip up?
You gotta take the good with the bad. I mean, if
one slip up,
most of these
we just watched them destroy Meek.
I know, but
hey, Meek really ain't do nothing.
Listen, you gotta take the good with the bad. We watched them destroy
him. But you know what though? Regular stuff. All right, in my opinion, nowadays too, it's a business. Yeah. So as well as they can destroy Meek, it don't really matter because there's a lot of people out there that love Meek.
Right.
Right. The same thing with Kendrick and Drake. Kendrick ended up probably taking a lot of Drake's fans. Right, but Drake still got fans. He can still do his thing. Right. He can still put some numbers up.
And that's
right. It's just they're just exchanging market share at this point.
Right.
You know,
and I don't count Drake in this era. I count them the era before. So like everybody said they want new artists to come in and they tired of the same three controlling it.
Okay.
But every time a new artist drop, nobody really support that. You got Corday, who really rap.
Yeah.
He don't get the support. He really rap.
Right.
There's a lot of guys that really rap.
Russell's pretty good too.
It's a lot of guys that really rap that don't get the support.
But you know what though? In my opinion, just coming from what I do, right? I realized a long time ago, now might not be as hard in this sense. There's so many ways to go out and do your thing, right? Now it changed. Like the game went in different phases, and in a lot of ways, I feel like the reason why hip hop may not be so popular on the mainstream anymore is because a lot of people don't like the mainstream stuff anymore.
Right.
A lot of people don't even mess with the mainstream at all. Some people barely watch news, right? So you're not even really messing with that. However, it's like small pockets of people nowadays, right? It might be 2,000, 3,000, and artists are realizing I could cater to my 3,000. I could grow 3,000 to 12,000, right? If I got 12,000 people that's rocking with me, then you take that business because that's what they're in it for, right? Social media has created the business part of it, whereas before, I believe in the 80s, the business part of it was the social media was the people, right? It was just the social currency that was created in person,
right?
And then it moved to the next level.
Not to mention the labels kept that from the artists, where they didn't know what they were doing, or what type of atmosphere or audience they had.
Well, you got to remember this too. I mean, hip hop is not that old. It's only 50 something years old,
right?
Yeah, right. So the era of music wasn't trying to let it in. So yeah, it might have been hard to compete, but at the same time, they say hip hop started in the Bronx, right? Okay.
Yeah. Whoa.
Well, I'm saying, all right, or in Philly.
They gonna say you started on Sedgwick, man. They gonna hear that all the
people
time.
gonna say different things, right? But what I believe happened was something. Like how they say when you think of something, you got to put it out because if you don't, somebody else is thinking about it, right?
Absolutely.
So you think about, maybe a song came out in the 60s or the 70s, right? That inspired a group of young people to think a certain way, right? And they did it in the South, and they did it in the West, and they did it in the East.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They did it in the Midwest. They were starting to do it because it could have been a Isley Brothers song or something like that. Like, we don't know, right? But that could have been the real spark of it because hip hop started developing in a lot of different places, right? And then it wasn't until it started to get a little bit more mainstream once Run DMC really came on, right? You think about what was the dudes, the hop, them dudes, Sugar Hill Gang, right? So Sugar Hill Gang came out, that was a radio thing. But when Run DMC came out, or Furious 5, all them dudes, right? The difference was those guys was going on tour as bands in a way, right? They still was doing hip hop, but they were like bands. And they could do that. They could go overseas and do their thing. But here in America, something was changing while they were going overseas. Then Run DMC stepped on the scene with a whole different, like, we gonna approach it like this. We gonna look like this. We're gonna do this, right? And then you started to get almost these, a lot of people like, okay, this is my, this is my flavor.
Okay.
Right? This is our flavor. This is what they want now. Because they seen how Run DMC kind of came on the scene. Cool. This is what people want. They want to hear it lyrically. And then there was a lot more people that were in the hood, in the battles, trying to come out.
Well, what would you say in that era though? A lot of those artists that came out got screwed in business.
Absolutely.
A lot of them, right?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So a lot of them was really just focused on the artistry.
Right.
In this era, you got to be focused on your business. Labels are made now to screw you over. They already got the blueprint.
Yeah.
They already got everything to screw you over. Imagine every time trying to drop, you got to worry about the business of the record. And then you got artificial streams. You got streaming farms. You got body. All this helps the label. The artists don't get more money because the song's bodied. Like that don't help them. All these things now are there to put up a mirage of what's going on. You really don't know how popular you are. You don't know what impact you having out there. Because the labels are literally buying, finessing,
I disagree with that part. You was good. I would agree with everything else about
you won't know till you find out, and then the seats half empty.
Nah, you don't. You can know based off of your whole views and the shows you do. Not even just the seats half empty.
That's what I'm saying. The shows,
but not even just that. With you can You have the option right now in this era to where you can go label or you can just stay independent. You don't have to go label like you had to do in the 80s and 90s. You don't have to go label. Now you can go label if you know you want to get that machine behind you to help push you a little bit to the next level.
But how many artists you know that are independent? Like, can you name 10 independent artists? It's hard, right? It's the reason
why am I in too many artists' businesses to know that they're independent? Not trying to look them up.
Right, but that's the reason though for that. Independent artists don't really get that shine. It's hard to recognize.
But again, I think.
You can do it.
Social media is, allowing that. Because an artist doesn't need for everybody to know them,
right?
There's people out there making a living off of this now, right? And there's so many. There's tours. There's small tours. I think that one of the reasons why it's becoming less mainstream, like the beats aren't. The music, certain music is not, right? It's just that you're not seeing everybody. But if you look at it, there's still an influence on every single thing. That's a straight hip hop influence. But I believe the artists have just said, hey. Why would I wait for this label to decide
when I can put my music out?
When I should do this? The business model is what is going to creates everything. So the bigger, companies are going to start to crumble. Nipsey said it several years ago. Before he died, he definitely said, the giants are going to crumble because people are going to start popping up out of nowhere. Doing their thing. The competition, it could be hard or easy.
I think now you're competing with so many things. Would you say the labels would it crumble or it became more monopolized? Because Universal owns everything now.
More monopolized.
Universal owns all the labels. It's 50 labels under them.
But they had to monopolize in order to prevent themselves from crumbling because they stayed separate like that.
But when you're not in the game, you get cut off from the resources. So it's a lot of artists that try to get songs with UMG artists that got denied or blocked because they're not in that ecosystem.
I mean,
there's only few that break through, like Chance the Rapper. There's certain artists that could break through and get through the machine.
But the question is,
if you don't play the game,
right? That do you need the machine? Right? Do you need or want the machine? Because artists now, like I was saying, I can go to a record label right now and just say, "Yo, listen, I just need you for distribution. I don't need you for nothing else."
You can do that.
I mean, Master P showed the way too,
right?
But then those same artists go on social media complaining about how they mental ain't right and how people ain't listening to their music, how they ain't getting the support. Those same artists end up doing that. So it's like an artist named Chica, like she's really dope, like really correct, mental all crazy with their artists. Chance, when he dropped the album, he didn't get the right support. He was going through it. There's a lot of artists that go independent that go through it. Because either they're not getting the right support or they don't feel like their music being heard.
But that's ups and downs of anything, though, right?
For sure. Right.
But I'm saying independent always ain't the route. It's all you gotta
be built for that. No, you gotta be built for that.
But here's the other thing, right? I think you gotta have the money, but you also gotta be built for that. You gotta be able to build the proper business model.
That's true.
In music now or anything now, right? It's about building the business model. If you can't build the right business model as an artist, and artists don't make money off of their music like that no more. They're not selling albums.
No, you gotta do shows.
You gotta
touring.
You gotta tour. Sell merch.
Sell merch.
Merch is the biggest.
Get a
thing
TikTok dance for your joint too.
Right. But
they had to play that game because of how bad the music industry is. The TikTok, how many guys didn't want to play that TikTok game? They had no choice but to do that. Because that's where the business model was going. That's when the business model was going.
But that's been in every era of music. Every era had to play some type of game to get their music out. 80s had to play a game.
The record label game.
Right. 90s had to play the gimmick game to get their music out.
Well, let's go to the 90s because I do want to go to y'all eras. Just so we can, check everything, go to everything. You said the 90s, right?
No, you said the 90s. I said the 80s.
You said the 80s.
Yeah, you said the 90s. Yeah.
So the only reason, all right, I can see how the 90s was hard to compete, but I feel like in the 90s, everybody got their turn. Like they allow everybody to get their turn at some point.
Who allowed? Hold on, before you say that, who allowed? The artists or the labels?
Well, I'm just talking about the demo. Like the demo people that are consuming music allow everybody to get their turn. Nobody was so locked on any certain artists that they didn't buy anybody else's music. There wasn't people monopolizing.
There was a lot
of Busta, you had Pac, you had Nas, you had Hov.
You're naming giants.
You're naming giants.
You're naming giants.
But you talking about this era? I mean giants. The last era before that is Drake, Kendrick, Cole. It's not a lot of giants. It's only 3 giants but in the last couple of years. In that era, it's like 7, 8, 9 giants.
Right, but
how many eras got 9 giants?
But think about all the people who weren't giants that they had to compete with them. You know what I mean? You had to either you had to have a certain sound. The other difference was this, right? We have all these different areas. The areas all had their own sound. Like now, it's almost like a gumbo sound of artists from like the 2000s to now, right?
Yeah,
like,
but
we're deep. We deep.
Yeah.
People that weren't giants that was actually dope. Like really dope. The record labels were starting to change the game because in the 90s they started to look at the money, like the big money. You know what I'm saying?
Your fault.
Because it was visual sales as well. But even before Diddy, though.
I said 50, that's his
50.
fault.
Well, 50
was really in the 90s,
50,
though.
50 was like...
No, he said when people record labels started looking at the numbers. 50 started really making people look at the numbers.
But that was in 2000.
Yeah, but that was in 2000s, though. In the 90s, it was starting to get to that, but there was messages
Diamond,
out there,
platinum, triple platinum,
and then it started. I think the era had such a change because the early '90s introduced something that the '80s started to like. The early '90s was more like Nubian, you feel me? And then like '93, '94, then
I would say that's like the year we transitioned from hip hop to gangster rap. I would only say that
in a way,
and that was the new model.
I feel
gangster rap.
I feel like the 90s though, that was like the spark of the creativity. That's where everybody.
I think it was in the 80s.
What I mean by that is you had so many different changes in the 90s. Everybody represented something different. And those things transitioned to the 2000s where a lot of people was picking those things up. A lot of those 90 trends restarted again.
But they started
and now. That's what I'm saying. Like that's
I would say they started in the 80s because
he's right.
I would say they started in the 80s.
They started in the 80s
because you got a lot of artists that you heard in the 90s. You like that was Rakim was doing that in the 80s. Remember Nas when he first came out, they swore he was just another Rakim clone back in the 80s.
When you ask people the influences they pull from the 90s artists that maybe pull from the 80s.
Now they do, right?
But they don't. Nobody looks at the 80s as that artist as the original
because there wasn't a lot of visuals, right? That's the only reason. Like you actually
and a lot of education.
Unfortunately, we're in an era where and I don't know exactly how old you are, Wayne, but I think we're in an era where we kind of saw 20. That transition. All right, we saw that. I saw that transition from being a little kid, to being a teenager, to then becoming an adult, and I've seen X amount of years of hip hop, right? So to live that certain era from the end of the 80s, the early 80s, because Kid and Play was dope at one time.
Yeah,
right?
There was a gimmick,
and they was a gimmick.
Yep.
Right, but they was really dope because the colleges, everybody going to college, like it was a different era. But I believe like in the 90s, the transition, like you said, of gangster rap took it to a level where they were like, yo, this is selling. So yes, the record labels weren't looking for you to be totally different anymore. They were looking for you to start to sell. But they were more in control. Then it became a point, I believe, with Pac and Biggie, it just got to a point where, because Pac was a big artist even before he passed away. He just obviously got much bigger.
After he passed away.
And I think also with it hitting what, Biggie and Pac both passing away, within a small amount of time from each other, it brought the community together, but it also tore people apart. But it made people it made the record labels also see, well, all right, who owns the rights to this music, right? Because now people want to consume it. Everybody was, everybody's bumping Pac, everybody's bumping Big. And I think it started the East Coast, West Coast, all those things. But, for me, I seen the transition from it going from like people doing it for the love to people doing it, for the glamour. And those things all changed the culture of it.
And I think by the time we got to the 2000s and then even to this era,
would that make it harder to compete in?
Yeah, because I would think because you had to play that game. To whereas when you got to the era,
I don't know what that noise is, but it's gonna mess up the.
But when we got from the 2000s all the way up to this era, you already started to see artists bring in their own style, their own style of music of how they wanted to make their music, and they get their own fan base based off of their own style of music.
You talking about what era? I'm sorry.
From mid 2000s up until now. You got people like Trippie Redd and all these other artists bringing in their own style of music. X10 and all them doing different. What?
Sorry, they bringing in Lil Wayne style of music
to a degree. Absolutely, absolutely. To a degree.
That's not their own style. But we not in that. I'm sorry, I disagree.
To a degree, but they still bringing in something that wasn't before, to where before you had to play that game, you had to play the game of what was hot. I don't have to play the game of what was hot right now. All I gotta do is get strong enough fan base that listen to the type of music I want to listen to. And as long as I keep putting out that type of music, I'm good.
I feel like that was always the case, though. Even if you go back to when people were selling CDs out the trunk, if you asked the artists how much they were making from that, they were making more than guys are making now with these fan bases that they got.
Being independent.
Well, because
that's what I'm saying. There's just different ways of being independent, though. There's different ways. So you saying like you could find your little base and grow. I mean, that's always in every era.
Yeah,
you can find your little.
But now you can make money off of it.
That. And even what you're saying with selling out the trunk, I only can do that local. I can't. I'm not going. If I'm an artist
these dudes was making money so much local that they was cleaning up shop.
I mean,
if you believe the figures that they telling,
right? But I mean, if you believe the figures that they telling, that's one thing, right?
If you believe what they say.
But if you take that model right there, I'm still local. I'm still stuck in Cal. If I'm an artist in California, I'm still stuck in California. I'm not going to New York and selling my CDs out of a trunk in New York and getting the same level I'm getting in California.
True.
I couldn't do that back then.
I think for me,
I can do that now.
Well, here's the thing. You know, I think. In my opinion, they could have done it back then, right?
I don't think they'll get the same love.
I think if they would have went, it's all about, because when I was younger, right, one of the biggest things that helped me in my life was the fact that I was willing to go places by myself.
Absolutely.
Right? And if you just go and you show respect where you're going and you break bread, they start to actually accept you for who you are. I think it would have been easier to do that.
Yeah, but
if people would have just, all you gotta do is get on the train.
But you remember between the coastal wars, the rap beef, and the style of music. If I'm a West Coast artist and I came to the East Coast with all that West Coast East Coast beef, and I started trying to push my West Coast music on the East Coast, these New York dudes would have ran me out of town, bro. They were like, nah, you ain't doing that up here. Get out of here. Like, get out of here.
I guess it comes down to what you want out of music, right? Because if you want the notoriety, if you want your music to hit on a mainstream level, at some point you do got to play the game.
You got to play the game.
It's going to be hard for independent artists to be on them award shows.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's like if you want more,
and that's every
out of the game, you gotta play those types of rules,
that's
right?
Every era, yeah.
I'm just talking about for like the independent, because a lot of times when people talk about this era, they talk about how easy it is to get your music out and do all that stuff. But it's a lot more. You need to get attached to somebody at some point to get there. The only artist I seen do that was Chance. And even he had to sign a deal with Apple for like a week or two to get his album. Like, he's the first independent artist to even have a mixtape be eligible for a Grammy.
But you can do that.
You can, but it's not
an option before.
But I'm not going to take the one person that did it and then say you can do it. It's extremely difficult. So it depends on what you want out of music. But I don't know what they want out of music these days.
I always feel like once one person do it, they pave the way and leave the blueprint for somebody else to follow. He do it better.
Well, he did it 8 years ago. Ain't nobody said so.
Maybe he opened a different type of door though. You know, he could have opened a different door than people doing that. Because if you think about what I don't know, I just see the game totally different, man. Like just doing what I do. Yeah. I just see all of the games completely different now, and I see them in a way of, because you can do your own thing. If like, all right, if you rap, you could, instead of, I tell people who do music all the time, right, especially young people, I'm like, stop trying to go and have a concert, right? Figure out other ways to get your music out. There's other ways. There's you could be on films, right? You could start with independent films. You got to learn the process like everybody else. But once you start to perfect your business, it could be commercials. You know what I'm saying? If you some of these kids nowadays or young people nowadays, they produce, they rap, like they're doing everything.
They do it all, right?
One person in the room.
The pool is diluted. It's not. It's diluted.
It is. But if you could just. It's the business model. It's all about what you do. See, a lot of these people don't get from behind the music to go out and still mingle. There's still human beings out here. Like, yes, you're on your phone reaching out to other people. But once you start to connect, you'll realize, oh, dang, I follow this person. This person follows that person that I know. That person. And you realize the web ain't as big as you thought it was. Like, you're still reaching out to more people, but every person got at least 100 people, right? But I started studying business models, and once I started doing that, everything changed on podcasts too. Not saying I can do it, but I understand the models of how to do it and how to bring on more. Just getting people to get down with you.
Okay. So we all at Popular heard that this era is microwave music, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm an artist and I'm in a microwave music era, where people are gonna like my song for a week and then they off of it because there's so many people coming out.
Right.
That doesn't doesn't lean to a great era to be in, where the consumer's attention is as small as it ever been.
But I can put
as it ever been.
But you can.
So it's really difficult, and when people really aren't, even though hip hop is young, we've seen so much already that a lot of times people are looking to find where they heard that from, or where or you pulling that from.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really lean the same type of like, okay, you did something dope with a popular record, or you did something dope with a popular sample. It's like, yo, stop pulling these samples. Everybody, y'all doing this too much. Stop pulling the samples.
To a degree, yes.
And that's what was going on since the 90s. 90s, 80s, people was pulling samples.
But they're pulling in the 80s.
But now
too,
you can kind of get shunned from doing that because they feel like, yo, that's a cheat code.
To a degree.
So you got a lot of people who are looking to criticize your music before listening in this era.
But you got to, again, I feel like you got to take the good with the bad. You have the opportunity, like you said, you got people looking to criticize, looking to attack, looking to dish you, do whatever the case may be. But then on the other hand, you got the same people who are looking to hear from you, who are waiting to see what's next joint you're going to drop.
Those are the ones you pay attention to.
Like you got to take the good with the bad, because if you open up that avenue of more exposure, of being exposed to more people, whether they hate you or they love you, you got to take both. You're going to have to take both with that, and depending on how your music is received, will determine, right? Will determine you're going to get a lot of good reception or bad reception. That's why you got to take with what you're getting now, and the opportunity you're getting. You got to be able to handle both sides of it.
I feel like the game ain't. Now there's a lot of artists saying this. I ain't in it, so I can't say it.
Right.
But a lot of them feel like the game wasn't passed down.
It wasn't. I don't disagree with that.
So right now they kind of going in blindfolded, and if you try to talk to a label or the dude in your hood that put you on, he trying to rob you too.
Yeah, but
he trying to get that finder's fee.
But
he trying to get that deal with the label and try to get there. So you got a lot of people going in blind.
But you have two problems with that. That you have two sides to that. You got the one side where the old heads are not too much giving the young boys the game.
Oh, it's both. It's both.
Right. But then you got some of the old heads that are trying to pass down the game. The young boys like, nah, that's old.
But
that's old pops. I ain't trying to do it.
But it's like the NBA, bro. Like a lot of times you put a camera in front of these older rappers, it's not too many positive things being said about the genre or the artists being done out there. Now they might be getting lined up with the questions, but they not sidestepping it. Like those are the ones
well,
that
I think this. Not to cut you off, I apologize, but I feel like the older rappers, depending on how old you're going, right? If you're going the originators in the sense of like the KRS Ones,
not them. That 90s, 2000.
Okay, so name a couple.
So
if you don't want to,
so you put a camera in front of. I heard Fat Joe.
Okay,
he's, really critical. I've seen,
but he tried.
DMX be really critical. Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. Now D, I don't know if D tried. I know Fat Joe tried, but I don't know if D tried.
All right.
So and it's many more. Like LL, I seen him be critical of what's going on too as well.
Tried too.
It's a lot of guys that every time you put a camera in front of them, now they might be saying more, but the headline is not that. I give them that. But that is what gets sent. That's the message that gets sent out there.
But those are the guys. All right. So
P-Rock is another one.
A lot of those guys also, right? If you think about it, a lot of those guys are those giants that we was talking about, right? Now those giants, look at where they're at. Look at where Snoop is, right? Snoop kind of was around that era.
It's crazy what Snoop turned himself into.
50 Cent, and 50 came later, right? But if you look at a lot of these guys, there is a lot of game that I'm pretty sure they've tried to get.
50
right?
has. 50 tried with
Pop Smoke. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Fat Joe
done
Kiss.
I'm talking about when they put somebody that put their arm around that I visually saw.
No, Fat Joe has done it with multiple people, especially people in his own crew. Same thing with LL. Back when LL dropped his last album on Def Jam, he had a whole crew of young rappers and a female rapper he was trying to push through. It just they didn't click. It didn't work.
Yo, I think the hardest part.
He said the same thing. Some they don't listen.
I think the hardest part with that also.
I know Busta definitely tried a lot too.
Yeah,
it could be. Yeah, Busta definitely right. But I think like some of these guys can still get on songs with some of these young dudes. Like if Busta comes on a song, he's still Busta at the end of the day, right? And I think a lot of these guys, they are given the game. It's just what part of it are you listening to, right? Are you looking for the fame? Because that's another problem with a lot of these young MCs too. They're all looking for the fame, and it could be a kid right down the street in his room right now. What's he looking for? Is he really looking to sell his music? And they're not studying the game, right? Fat Joe and those guys, Kiss, all these dudes, like they got multiple streams now, right? They're running things, they're running businesses, so they don't really need to worry about how many albums they sell nowadays, right? None of that matters. They can put out music all day. and there's a large fan base still. And I think what they've understood is, even if I don't have the whole pie anymore, which they were all on top at one point,
Right.
all right, I don't have the whole pie, but I got a nice piece where I can live off of, because it's this many people. But then you guys had sparked something earlier, it made me think about it too. Just think about, as we grow, so do our artists, right? So certain things, if you're 40 mumble rapping, like that might not be the thing, my man.
But a lot of guys from the 90s or even in 2000s, some of them had guys that were actively in it that was able to keep their pulse on the culture to help out. Whether you had artists that was active signing other artists that was still relevant though.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that we talking about now aren't relevant. Like that's why they can't get nobody to pop. Busta don't know what's going on out here.
Now they're not relevant.
That's why he can't really tap into this new youth, this new base, and this new youth.
Right.
He not gonna be able to do. That's not his game.
But
Like,
you don't have to do.
This is a whole different era.
But he
These
don't
kids
have-
don't
he
care
don't
about
need
it.
to tap into this
No,
youth,
he
though.
don't. Not for him. I'm talking if he signed the artist. He can't tell them how to maneuver out here. He don't know this world. That's why it don't work.
All right, but here's the thing, right? I think what we're missing is the other part of it. Maybe Busta owns several studios that other people are producing out of.
Connections, right. I got connections.
They're now the top of their game because they did so much for the game that the game accepted them on a certain level to probably, I don't know their pockets, but a lot of these dudes, I'm pretty sure they were smart with their bread. That's why they're still somewhat relevant today, right? Or they're relevant to the culture. They may not be relevant to the hip hop rapping scene, but they're relevant to the entire culture because the entire culture is hip hop. That's what this is.
I feel like the fan is more ignorant now than they were back then. So that's what I'm talking about.
There you wrote that out.
The people your age that listen to music and consume it don't do it at the output that's needed for a certain type of, I guess, income, right? Or a certain type of numbers that need to be reached.
But that's the business model too.
No, I'm just saying, that's not the demo. Like, y'all not the demo anymore, right?
I know, but I'm saying that.
So you need a certain demo to really be there and gravitate. So now you need those fans to be educated on hip hop, which they aren't, right? A lot of them are coming from their era of hip hop, what they think it is. So the emo rap that you brought up with Trippie Redd and XX and all them guys, that is their basis. That is their blueprint.
Yeah,
that's
where they started. That's where they saw. Yeah, that's where they started.
Right? Those guys came out 6, 7 years. They old at this point.
True.
Those are now the kids that we are relying on to identify the stars or the new talent and propel them to new levels. I think the fans have become more ignorant to the history of hip hop and the culture as it goes on, which makes it harder because there's no point.
Well,
there's no reference point.
Hip hop has changed in a way where, it's again the ear of the fan, right? The ear. The next ear came from the previous ear,
right?
Yeah. So yes, it did get to a point where, because even in the 90s, once gangster rap started to hit, it was all gangster rap really till Puff kind of fluff rap for a minute. You know what I mean?
Shiny suit music.
Yeah. He came in and fluffed it. You know the crazy thing about that though?
Is it still on?
Yeah, you good.
As much as he came with the shiny suit era and everything like that.
All right.
When he had like the locks and those dudes, they were still completely respected.
Yeah.
Even though they was doing that, they was getting the bread.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like Puff did a lot of dirt to the game, but he also brought a lot of other things.
He brought a lot of things to it.
And
That's a fact.
Was part of, again, it was the culture. It's the culture. Our culture. You can make money off the culture, and that's what hip hop. That's real hip hop to me, right? So now it goes beyond the music. Look at Tyler, the Creator. You got to do different things,
right?
And even he said it, right? I think you said it too. The dumbed down part of the listener nowadays, right, becomes eventually, your mind shifts. So you start to look at it and say, can I do something with this? Can I make something? How do I? I saw Tyler, Creator, say something about people get discouraged because they'll put out a song and then they get 12 likes, right?
Oh yeah,
right. And then they stop putting that song out. Oh well, I only got this. He was like, nah, repost that every day, every day. Just keep doing it, keep doing it, and eventually, your 12 likes might be 12 million likes, and now you have an audience that you can gravitate to. Right. I got 12 million people that like me. How many? Now you start breaking it down, right? I don't know if Tyler, Creator, said this, but I'm saying this. Start breaking it down. How many of these people are actually buyers, right? Then you think about the business models that something that Nipsey did, right? You start to Ryan Leslie as well. I know Ryan Leslie.
Between y'all eras, the 80s and 90s, y'all can't say both, right? Y'all pick one for different.
What?
Which one was difficult between the eras y'all talking about?
I'm going 80s. I'm still going 80s. I'm still going.
But y'all picked the part, the current. So what do you?
I'm still going 80s.
But why would you say that over the 90s though?
Over the 90s?
Yeah,
for the same reason why I said it. It's hard. It was more. You had to be an original. Completely an original in the 80s. You cannot come out biting nobody's style, nobody's style of music, nothing, or else you got canceled. It was like, we're not even going to give you an opportunity and a chance. Not to mention, you had to build your own audience and fame. Like back in the 80s, you had to go to different clubs and everything and get your audience that way before the record label even looked at you, even gave you a shot, anything of that nature. There was nobody I know this artist in the game. He'll probably help me get on none of that. You got that in the 90s because people got in the game. Okay. In the 80s, you ain't getting the game yet.
Do you disagree with that? Do you see what you said?
Nah,
why did you say the 90s and not the 80s?
I mean, I said the 90s, but I think that in between both those eras kind of brought something different to the competition.
Okay.
And in the 80s, yes, they had. Okay, when the record label saw you, right now, even if you could spit or you could rap at the time, right? Now you got to be able to pull an audience, right? And you got to be able to create a song because they were looking for songs back then. Yeah. Even now, it ain't even about the song anymore. It's about what's catchy,
the melody,
the melody, any of that stuff, right? Or you say something funny, or so. Yes, the 80s was difficult. I think the 80s transitioned to the 90s because the 90s then it was about the money game, right? And there were the giants. They came out, but it was like they weren't on the same label. You had one giant almost per label, unless you was Def Jam. Yeah. But then even Def Jam was transitioning. LL was still doing his thing. He was a monster in the 90s still because he was putting out songs with Boys and Men. He just switched his game up a little bit. Yeah. But it was still rap, right? Okay. You call it what you want.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, at one point I forgot to bring up too is the mixtape era dying also made this era harder too as well, because a lot of guys would just throw out mixtapes, and that's how they always kept their name going. 15, 30, 40.
That got to the 2000s though. That wasn't even in the 90s and 80s.
No, I say guys. I don't know if I said era. I meant to say back then though, that was a way for guys to keep their name out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
mixtapes?
These artists were
sure.
30, 40.
I know Clue and them had the tapes back in the day, but
they had songs. They had songs.
DJs were made tapes and had put people's songs on there that wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
And you could buy them. That's how you got to know some of the artists.
Yeah, that was when the artists made their own mixtape. That's what he's talking about.
I'm just saying though, it's just a different version.
Yeah.
Because remember, LimeWire, Napster, and all them. I burned CDs all the time and had them up there. Music was easier to consume. It was cheaper. I could just buy. I had to buy them out.
I'll make another point.
You could.
I'll make another
still
point.
Get access.
I'll make another point real quick. Where
now I gotta add $10 a month.
I would say this era is a little bit. I
gotta get Apple or Spotify.
They changed the formula of the music. You had to make a song that was actually a song. Now these joints like what 2 minutes, a minute something clip. Where before you had to make a 3, 4, 5 minute song, which would have kept attention span. Now they're just making you do 2, 3 minute clips.
Microwave,
that's what I'm saying. They microwave the music to make it microwave, because if you make if I get a whole record label, a record, say 20 songs, every song like 2 minutes. What am I doing?
Yeah, but am I making a jacket for beats with all the most popular songs and I'm just rapping on them joints? I mean, that's.
You could.
And I got lyrics?
You could.
Yeah, look.
Then you just got to catch your audience. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the long 80s too.
You try that now, they suing you.
Yeah. They sue it, absolutely.
They sue
What, Jacket for Beats?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can,
see,
then the remix died. It's so many things
I'm telling you.
codes that lost.
I missed the remix.
That we don't have now.
Yeah, I missed the remix.
Because those things, the remix became everybody's go-to, like you kept saying, a demo.
Yeah.
Once the remix was dope because everybody wasn't doing it. Then it was like, well, this ain't really a remix.
But not. Yeah.
All you heard was the remix first, and you hear the other original.
Yeah, you hear the original.
But sometimes, at least for me, I would say for me, it's a lot of times I would hear a song and I'd be thinking to myself, yo, I wish such would remix this joint. I want to hear this artist on this joint or this artist on this joint, to where I missed that era. Yeah. That was just me. But
yeah, let us know what y'all think, man. On which era was the hardest to compete in? Y'all might have picked something different from us, because we still nobody picked the 2000s and nobody picked the 2010s. So.
On the beat.
gonna take it out the bag.
Hey yo. Hey yo.
Yeah.
Yo, this joint is fire. Woo. I like the tag. I like the tag. Shh. My man. Woo.
All right, that's one.
That's nice.
That's fire. Y'all see this? Y'all need to hit this man up. The work he do is amazing.
You can go to greatnesswaswhen.com, www.greatnesswaswhen.com. Same thing, Greatness Was When on the IG. YouTube. Definitely follow us on YouTube. We're going to be dropping a lot of stuff there too. But the website is most important. Go to the website, build with us, wearable fine art, internationally recognized. I know you see it on a garment, but it's actually considered wearable fine art. So you get appreciation value from it. You get certificates of authenticity, everything you need. This is Melo signing off.